Today, Bitcoin tumbles 5% as investors watch rising Treasury yields, and Austin Alexander of LayerTwo Labs discusses today's sell-off and why there could still be plenty of room for crypto investors to be optimistic in Q2. Welcome to CNBC's Crypto World. I'm Talia Kaplan. The crypto market taking a dive today as Treasury yields climb to a 2024 high. By noon Eastern, Bitcoin slumped nearly 5% to the $64,000 level, Ether tanked just under 6%, and XRP fell 3.3%. Along with interest rates, the US dollar, which typically has an inverse relationship with Bitcoin's price, rose to its highest level in nearly 5 months. You can read more about what's driving today's market action over at cnbc.com/cryptoworld. Okay, let's talk about the top stories. Looking past today's losses, Coinbase thinks the second quarter is gearing up to be another strong one for crypto. The exchange's research arm put out a report on Friday saying that many of the headwinds for crypto appear to be in the rearview mirror, and the setup for Q2 looks conducive for the market. That being said, Coinbase also said most of those positive catalysts may only come after the halving in the second half of April. It also pointed to institutional interest in crypto holding strong and that many major brokerages conduct 90-day review periods on new assets like spot Bitcoin ETFs before buying in. The 90-day period, well, it would technically be up around April 10th. Next, Tron founder Justin Sun has asked a federal judge to dismiss the SEC lawsuit against him and the Tron Foundation. That request was filed in federal court on Friday, saying the SEC lacked the jurisdiction, a claim Sun made when he was on our show back in May. Now, the SEC sued Sun, Tron, BitTorrent Foundation, and Rainberry in March of last year, alleging the groups offered and promoted unregistered securities along with committing fraud and market manipulation. In the request for dismissal, the defendants argued that the SEC's case stretches beyond the regulator's scope and that extending U.S. securities laws to cover predominantly foreign conduct go too far and should be rejected. All right, let's turn back to markets for our main story. I spoke with Austin Alexander, co-founder of Bitcoin developer LayerTwo Labs, about today's crypto sell-off and his expectations for the second quarter of 2024. After holding around $70,000 through the weekend, crypto started tumbling yesterday to kick off the week and the new month. Today, major cryptocurrencies are down across the board, with Bitcoin dropping about 5% as of noon. What do you think is behind this week's sell-off?
Well, in Bitcoin, 5% drops are basically just noise. Anybody who's been in the industry a while is comfortable with 20-30% drops, as even in the most bullish of markets, it's a regular occurrence. And after the performance of Bitcoin in this past quarter and the end of last year, this is kind of, I think, just a drop in the bucket.
The Bitcoin halving is just a couple of weeks away, which has historically led to higher Bitcoin prices after the fact. With that in mind, do you expect this sell-off to be short-lived until we get to that event, or is this something more long-term?
I can't say exactly. This is a somewhat unprecedented because historically, the precedent would be for Bitcoin to kind of go sideways leading up to the halving, and then sometime about 2 or 3 months post-halving, we've seen historically the price begin to move up, and then 3 or 4 months after that, the price begins to go parabolic. So we're already kind of a broken precedent with such a strong move prior to the halving. So I can't say exactly, but I would say on the generally speaking, I'm very bullish. Right now, there's 900 new Bitcoin introduced to the world every day. And post-halving, that number will drop to 450. And 4 years after that, it will drop to, 225. And very soon, there will be no more new Bitcoin mined. So unlike what would historically have been considered kind of the most scarce assets, precious metals, when the price of precious metals goes up, there's a lot more capital that becomes deployed for mining and for discovering new supply. Bitcoin is the first thing that, literally the first commodity in human history that the supply has no relationship to the demand when it comes to releasing new supply. So the inflation rate is trending towards literally zero and eventually towards probably negative. And the price of Bitcoin, it has no relationship to how much new Bitcoin is going to be introduced into the network.
So, what are some of the other reasons crypto investors should be optimistic in this new quarter? On Friday, Coinbase released a report arguing that the second quarter is gearing up to be another strong one for crypto. How are you thinking about this new quarter?
Well, very bullish. You kind of see in these markets a feedback cycle where a lot of people who have are kind of passively interested, passive investors, or even maybe have heard the word, they've heard crypto, they've heard of cryptocurrency, or they've heard of Bitcoin, but their understanding is very basic. The price begins to move, then that movement begins to accelerate, and you get this feedback loop that fuels the cycle. The highs, we reach new highs and plateau somewhere that's usually orders of magnitude above the previous price, and I think we're in the beginning of that stage now. And like was mentioned earlier, the trend right now is kind of even more bullish as the action happened before the halving. Obviously, that doesn't mean that the pattern is going to hold as it has so far in the 15-year history of Bitcoin. But this is kind of the first time that we've seen Wall Street buying Bitcoin in this way. You have now these instruments in the U.S. capital markets. I think it's 9 new Bitcoin ETFs, and there's talk of new ETFs opening up in Hong Kong and other markets around the world, where that gives these passive investors a vehicle that makes it much easier for them to get exposure to Bitcoin. And the government seems to not be slowing down the printing, and so this is a relief valve for people. This is something to hedge against that is how it's seen.
And actually, Hashdex's spot Bitcoin ETF started trading in the US just last week. So now there are 11 different vehicles here in the United States. But Bernstein predicts that Bitcoin could reach $150,000 by 2025. Do you think that's realistic?
Of course. Are you crazy? Of course. That's like a completely bearish. Bitcoin has the potential to reach $1 million by 2025. I don't think it's going to happen that way, but the way that this works, it's been in the doldrums for a number of years now, and so a lot of people who were going to sell, they may already have sold. The supply of Bitcoin is actually very low, and a lot of people who are holding Bitcoin today, the number they're looking for, where they'd even be willing to sell, is likely much higher than today. And it's not just double. There's a lot of people around the world who are very bullish on this asset. They understand that this is this technology is a fundamental shift in money. There has never been anything like this before, and the world is still, relatively unaware of how it works. And this is something that gives 8 billion people property rights, perhaps for the first time. The way that the economy works today is that you basically are forced to be a gambler. You're to try to build up wealth, especially generational wealth, by just doing a 9 to 5 as the government prints. The money supply increases by 5, 10, 25% every year, every 2 years. It's a trap. And this is perhaps a valve or a door to leave that trap.
Okay, that's all for Crypto World today, but we'll be back again tomorrow, and we'll see you then.